Welcome back to the O Hockey Show, and today we're talking about the Evander Kane trade. I know it is not breaking news by any means anymore, but I thought it was still worth talking about it now that I'm available to on this channel, because I think it's an interesting trade for both sides. So let's talk all about the trade. So, Evander Kane from Vancouver, British Columbia, is being sent hometown to, of course, Vancouver from his divisional new rival, the Edmonton Oilers, and it is an interesting move for them, right? So Vancouver is acquiring a 33-year-old who is a huge, one of the largest resumes of a player known to be hated by the team he plays on. A very long line of sketchy situations, from his wife to his gambling to his interactions with Dustin Byfuglien and the San Jose Sharks and every single team he's ever been on. It seems like everyone can't stand the sight of him when he's on that team for very long. And this is already a very shaky, disastrous locker room going on right now. Of course, the whole reason JT Miller was traded was because him and Elias Pettersson apparently could not coexist. So they bring in a player like that. Interesting. Another thing to note about Evander Kane is that he has not played a single regular season game in over a year now at this point, because he didn't play one this year, and so that goes all the way back to last season, and that's quite a while away from then, right? But he was a beast in the playoff. He had 6 goals and 12 points for the Edmonton Oilers to get all the way to 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup, and he is a cap hit of 5.125. So, Evander Kane, right? And he has, of course, moved on from the Oilers because they need cap space. They have a bit of a cap crunch going on for them right now, which is crazy because they have $16 million. That usually is fine, but they got a lot of moving parts coming soon. But we'll talk about them. I want to talk about the Canucks first. So the Canucks, they bring in a legitimate top 6 scoring, skilled, talented forward, right? Brock Besser is on his way out of town. You needed that. You need that gritty mentality. You got rid of that in JT Miller. You bring that in as well, right? Issue, though. Could Evander Kane produce at a level of Brock Besser? I think in his final year of his contract, where he's going to be playing real hard, we know every player does. Will he have a career year? No. But I think he is in task to be on the top 6 easily. He could break the first line with Elias Pettersson potentially. And I could see him easily being like a 30-goal guy and maybe gets 20 assists. So maybe he's like a 50-point guy this season. Maybe he gets to 60 points, right? And I think that would be fine. I don't think that's too outlandish to say. I think if he has a big year trying to score a ton of goals in his hometown, contract year, first year on this team, trying to make redemption after missing all of last season, I think he could do that. But that is not JT Miller, right? And then you're losing JT Miller and Brock Besser over the span of just a handful of months, I guess. So you are going to this season losing Miller and Brock Besser and replacing it with just one Evander Kane. And they only have $7 million in cap space. Now, there was a big thing going on. Well, they have Kevin Lincoln, who's been a freaking stud for them. And you have Arthur Shelovs in the AHL, who just backstopped the Abbotsford Canucks to the Calder Cup. And that is perfect for them to just make that the tandem. And Thatcher Demko, he's 29 years old, he's very injury prone, and this team is clearly not in a place to be winning a Stanley Cup right now. They clearly need a lot more development, so moving on a nice piece like a Thatcher Demko could be a very hot commodity for a team out there needing a goaltender. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's like a Hurricanes team who could use well, no, they already have their, whatever. But find a team and try to get back a nice, forward piece for that, because defensively they're fine. They don't have to worry about off defense, I would say. Defense, goaltending, they have a nice core of guys easily set up. They need offensive talent, especially in replacement of the guys that have just been moved out of town, right? But so they have $7 million in cap space. That's not enough to sign a big name, especially when the cap is going up and up and up. And, guys are going to wanting more and more money. $7 million isn't going to get you very far, especially when you got other guys to re-sign as well. So $7 million, and so you could say, oh, Thatcher Demko, let's move you out of town for something. Even if it's just to clear up cap space, maybe we only get a good handful of picks or something, right? Maybe we get a younger guy that's on a smaller contract, right? Maybe, right? Depends. But apparently, they are in contract negotiations with him and are very close to making an announcement. Apparently. With Thatcher Demko. So apparently they're not moving on from Demko. Kevin Lankinen was the guy that they just inked, and it apparently turns out that Artur Shilovs is the odd man out, who is going to save you no money. So apparently that is not with the direction they're going in either. So now they just have a team where their second line is Evander Kane, who has not played a regular season, and is a guy that I think is very tuned out of a regular season anyways. I know he's in a contract year and wants those big bucks, so maybe he'll be playing a little bit harder, but he's not going to be one of those really big, consistent players that's going to get a lot of driving up money and get a lot of good defense out there. So you got Evander Kane on the second line, Philip Hedl, who is a solid third line guy on a good team. He is not the anchoring second guy on a team, especially a good team. And then you go from there where you got, like, you could have, is it Dakota Joshua? Is it Nils Höglander? Where do people end up in the lineup, right? So it's already like a questionable team where you got $7 million to sign something, nothing special. And I don't understand this move for them. That is just at the end of the day, is what I got to say. You have Connor Garland and Evander Kane as your top two right wingers at this point, according to Puckpedia, right? Of course, Evander Kane's left-handed. He can play on either side of the ice, but he plays on the right usually. I don't know. I don't understand this trade. So they get, and of course, they get, and he's a solid piece, right? It's not a bad piece to get. It's just for the Vancouver Canucks, I guess they need that replacement. But I feel like they could be spending this money in a better way. They could have saved that $5 million to make, to their 7, have $12 million in cap space. And I don't know, just find something better. Oh, maybe the other trade that just happened, J.J. Peterka. For $7.7 million he just re-signed for. Maybe he didn't want to play there. Who knows? I don't know. But for the return that the Buffalo Sabres got in return of Josh Doan and Michael Kesselring, you're telling me that the Canucks couldn't find some part of their team to bring in like a J.J. Peterka instead? You're telling me would you rather have J.J. Peterka for 7.7 or Evander Kane for 5.1? Peterka all day long. It's not even a question, right? So to me, it is just a strange move for the Vancouver Canucks that I feel like doesn't make them too much better, and I don't see the necessity of getting. Now, of course, they don't give up much for it. They give up a third and a fourth. The main thing they give up is cap space on a team that needs cap space to make themselves better. So I don't really understand that. But the Oilers, right? The Oilers, they needed to make this trade, and everyone knows this, not saying anything new. They need to move out Victor Arvidsson, get that $4 million out there as well. By moving out Evander Kane, they get $16.2 million in cap space now, right? But they have got to sign, currently, Evan Bouchard, who I think is easily going to demand $9 million, especially with the cap exploding. It could be, he could get 10 even. Not that he's a $10 million player, but the cap is exploding. He is their number one defenseman. He shouldn't be. He is not a number one defenseman on a team that's going to win a Stanley Cup, I don't believe. But he's going to get giant payday, right? You know who also needs a giant payday? Connor McDavid. Yeah. Connor McDavid. He is going to get, who knows? He might get $20 million. And I know that's crazy to say. But if he holds out for a contract and he waits till next year, where all of these UFAs like Wallman, a ton of they're like basically all of but one of their defense is signed to pass next year. They have a lot of money to dish out to people, right? And they're gonna have a lot of cap space. And a team, if Connor McDavid opens up, if there is a bidding war, Connor McDavid in a world where the cap is going into the hundreds, he could get $20 million. Like, that is the state we're at. You have the chance to sign the best player in the world for $20 million. You're telling me a team like the Mammoth or probably not the Sharks, but like a team like the Mammoth, a team like the Sabres, not the Sabres, he would never sign there, but any kind of team that is willing to throw that out there, I don't know. The Oilers need as much cap space as they need. And so, in this trade, they get draft capital. They get higher up in the draft than they had previously. I think they only had a 5th, 6th, and 7th in this draft, so they move up to the third round. So, it's interesting. The Oilers, they do something that they needed, right? They have a guy that they don't need in the regular season, and you can always find guys to get in for the offseason, for the postseason, for the playoffs, around the trade deadline, have a team retain cap. Who knows? Maybe maybe the Canucks, by the time the trade deadline's around, they're far out of the playoffs, which I think they will be. I don't think they're a playoff contending team, especially in a league where so many teams are getting so much better. Like the Ducks and the Sharks are even going to be competitive, I think, this year. That the Canucks are going to be losing some of those games, especially with the lack of JT Miller and, well, I guess Brock Besser can be replaced by Evander Kane, but I don't know. Maybe they hold half of his contract in return. They send him to Edmonton later this year, and they get their postseason guy, right? I wouldn't be surprised by that. But yeah, so to me, summary of my opinion on all this, for Vancouver, it's a trade I don't think they needed to make. I don't think they should have made. I know they need to make up some of that ground offensively of what they first of all lacked in the first place, but now are really lacking with the absent players now. But it is the wrong trade, I think, for them. And for the Oilers, they clear up cap space. They get a couple of picks, and they lose a guy that they don't really need too badly, especially for the regular season. So to me, it's a fine win for the Oilers. I'm just surprised the Canucks of all team are who they helped out with by giving them a top 6 guy. But I guess that's all I gotta say for this video. I know I just rambled a lot, but oh well. So that is all I gotta say. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please subscribe. And until next time, too sweet. I hope you have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.